So before we start today's video, I thought I'd let you all know that yesterday I popped my Twitter suspension cherry within 2 minutes of tweeting out this. I wonder what it felt like when Susan Wojcicki, Tim Cook, and some dickhead from Spotify, and that fucking robot with the yellow teeth decided to collude and essentially suck each other off for absolute bullshit reasons. You only proved him right, you cunts. Now you've indicated here it's hateful conduct. I would argue that if I was suspended for anything, it would be the poor grammar, as a comma belongs after right and before you cunts. So now that I've been suspended, although by the time this video goes out I will no longer be suspended, I think I should take the opportunity to shill alternative platforms I use. For example, I am on Gab, where I have only about 230 followers, which is actually not that bad. And I do use it every single day, mostly to post videos. Although I might start posting more comments just because. I also use Minds, where I also post videos, pictures, fan art, and other such related stuff. The occasional blog. And I also use BitChute, where I have about 600 followers at time of recording, which I'm dead chuffed with. I'm only 9,400 away from that 10,000 subscriber play. Yay. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get on with today's video. Now, the subject of today's video is one of those truly disgusting things that keeps cropping up. It happened a few weeks ago, where I covered certain paedophile-related sex offences, although at that point it was no longer paedophilia, it was in fact sex offences. I noticed it cropped up even while in the gulag on Twitter, with my dear friend Frozen Binary Studio tweeting out this: "No, paedophilia is not a sexuality, and yes, Chris Hansen is all over this shit." If you don't know who Frozen Binary Studio is, by the way, I will link her Twitter and channel in the description. She's a good friend of mine, and she makes some rather amusing content. But on this theme of sex offenders, we have a German couple who were jailed for 12 years each. No sentencing gap there, for selling their son to paedophiles on the Darknet. How hard up for cash were you that you would do that? Do you not have cash for gold? Cash converters? Wonga? Can you not just sell yourselves? You know, illegal prostitution, perhaps. Unless prostitution is legal in Germany, let me check.
A few moments later.
And to confirm, you could have sold yourselves, because prostitution is in fact legal in the brothel of Europe. Congratulations, Germany. I'm sure your sex is boring and very efficient, like your cars. A woman who sold her son to paedophiles on the Darknet has been jailed for 12 years and 6 months by a court in southern Germany. The Freiburg court, I do apologise if I've mispronounced that, also jailed her partner, the boy's stepfather, for 12 years. Oh no, there is a sentencing gap. How unusual. The boy was 9 when the trial began in June. I feel tremendously sorry for this boy, because he's not going to forget this. There are ways children do eventually block things out, and then in some instances they go down that path themselves, become the very monster that once did things to them. But I hope this kid gets all the help he deserves for this. And I hope that the 48-year-old and the 39-year-old, respectively, receive a suitable punishment in prison. As we all know, paedophiles and sex offenders are not well thought of in the prison ranks, the hierarchy that exists. In fact, rapists, child sex offenders, child sex offenders are at the bottom, in both men and women prisons, and I'm not sure or convinced there is any rehabilitation that is available or should be made available to either of you. Bear in mind here, by the time both of you leave, one of you will be 60, and the other will be 51. Not like you have much left to give this world at that point, really, is it? Now, to cement my focus for this video, it's going to be on the mother. It's almost cliche at this point that stepfathers and uncles abuse kids, but it's the mother I want to reserve a certain amount of venom for. You see, for you, what you have done is the ultimate breach of parental trust. You've taken an unconditional love that child had for you, and you have placed it up his own backside, and decided that he is a commodity, and not a life that you brought into this world, whether lovingly or not. You have turned him into an object, and betrayed him. And it is the ultimate form of betrayal. I don't know many mothers that would do that. You are quite the rarity. And also, I would argue, you are the lowest of the low. In a prison, you are below sex offenders. You are actually at the bottom. Because whereas the stepfather abused him, you are his mother, his biological mother, and you abused him, and you sold him. For what reason, I don't know, and don't think I will ever understand. And you get to live with that. I hope, and I genuinely hope, that he grows up to be successful, rich, famous, accomplished, so he can rub it in your face. Because he won't, as I stated earlier, I don't think he'll forget this. How could he? There are those studies that indicate that children below a certain age forget things. As we all know though, as we all get older, we forget things all the time. But with something like this, something that is socially unacceptable on a level beyond comprehension, he's not going to forget this. The German nationals, 48 and 39, had sexually abused the boy themselves for at least 2 years, so he was 7 when they started this. The Darknet is an internet area beyond the reach of mainstream search engines. Thank you for the education. On Monday, the court jailed a Spanish man for 10 years for sexually abusing the boy repeatedly. So there was another person involved. Fan-fucking-tastic. 5 other men have also been prosecuted in connection with the abuse. The couple were found guilty of rape, aggravated sexual assault of children, forced prostitution, and distribution of child pornography. As if this kid's not going to be fucked up enough as it is, but if the mother sexually abused her son, isn't that incest? That is so bad. I actually feel uncomfortable saying that. And it's not because of this unbearable heat that one of my patrons has told me is nothing because he's an Australian fag that can't tolerate 15 degrees because he believes it's too cold. Shut up, Quax. Aggravated sexual assault of children. I'm wondering when I see that, whether that indicates there was more than one child involved or if it was just the one child. Forced prostitution, which is obviously where the title comes from, and distribution of child pornography, so they recorded this shit. I wonder if this falls into the bracket of revenge porn, but with children. Oh, you know what, I'm not going to focus on that. I do apologise for the mental image. The boy is now living with foster parents, and I hope they give him everything to help him, and are there for him in every possible way. The couple must now pay, because somehow you can quantify this, 42,500 euros in damages to the boy and to a 3-year-old girl who was also abused by them. Oh, so it was in fact more than one child. Wow. I'm just going to say this now. £38,000, which is what the conversion is, doesn't seem like it's enough. And I'd love to know if they could even raise that money to begin with, since they were so willing to use him to pay for things. I can't imagine they were putting it into their ISA, or to Americans, their 401k. Or are you now going to tell me that they were saving the money to pay for him to go to college? They did it for you, you know? No, they didn't. You betrayed a child. I'm just going to say this now, by the way. On this article, the images provided have all the faces, all of them, covered. Do you know what I think? Remove them. Shame them. We would. If convicted, they get shamed. And I think they should be shamed. Prosecutors say the boy was subjected to more than 60 serious sex attacks, many of which were filmed. The case has horrified Germany, not least because the authorities who knew that the mother's partner was a convicted paedophile missed opportunities to rescue the boy. Oh, wow. On Tuesday, the judge told the boy's mother that she had carried out one of the most brutal sexual attacks. Really? The trial has also raised concerns that officials might sometimes wrongly presume that a woman is incapable of abusing her own child. While I'm glad you're finally starting to see why MRAs raise these kind of concerns when it comes to rape, this is also a different level of fucked up, because it tells me that the other man potentially manipulated her into doing this and then she got into it. I'm not saying that to make her seem like she's in any way innocent. The fact she allowed herself to go down that path renders her totally unforgivable. If there was ever a form of way to repent of what you did, I honestly believe it would be through firstly being chemically sterilized publicly. I think the shame should be very public. I'm starting to feel a bit more vicious when I say things like that. Perhaps I'll reserve that for the Twitter Gestapo. German media report that child welfare authorities in some unpronounceable area in Germany have been heavily criticized for failing to stop the couple's abuse. Well, it did go on for a long time, and unless there were sufficient checks in place to ensure that the man who was a paedophile was not abusing children, then you are guilty, and you should also pay either compensation or be charged for not doing your job. If you're not doing your job and your job is to make sure that children aren't being abused by a sex offender, Should that be considered some kind of perverting the course of justice? Because I think it should. Maybe. It's a debatable subject. According to case psychiatrist Hartmut something, quoted by Spiegel, the mother's claim that she was enthralled to her partner when she committed the abuse was false. She did not explain her actions, but her partner did speak a lot in court during the 2-month trial. So she lied about it and used her love for a man who was a sex offender, or paedophile according to the article, so not a sex offender at the time. Or maybe that's just a miswriting because it does say convicted paedophile, unless it's illegal to be attracted to children in Germany and not act on it. I'll look it up, give me a second. Okay, so while doing some digging, I did notice that there is treatment on offer for those that are paedophiles and to come forward and receive such treatment. There was also a few articles about how the EU is making paedophilia legal across Europe, Germany notably for handing out a leaflet which seemed to promote sexual contact between parents and children. This does what we have covered so far no favours whatsoever. If true, I haven't seen the leaflet, but there are excerpts from it on this article. The pamphlet advises parents to permit young children unlimited masturbation except where physical injury becomes apparent. It advises children to learn that there is no such thing as shameful parts of the body. The body is a home which you should be proud of. And to just read a quote from it. The songbook entitled Nose, Belly and Bum, which includes one song with the following lyrics. When I touch my body, I discover that I have a vagina because I'm a girl. Vagina is not only for peeing. When I touch it, I feel a pleasant tingle. It's possible that this article is a bit too oversensitive, but at the same time, sex education for very young children is a much debated subject. However, there is a passage slightly worse that's mentioned below it. Fathers do not devote enough attention to the clitoris and vagina of their daughters. Their caresses too seldom pertain to these regions, while this is the only way the girls can develop a sense of pride in their sex. Okay, that particular quote is quite... yeah, you know what? Fuck. We're not going any further with that. To the couple, whose names I don't know, you should be in prison for the remainder of your lives. I can only hope that the 12 years that you'll be in prison will be the final 12 years you live on this earth. I hope they are absolutely miserable for you. I hope you suffer. I hope somebody inserts a Pringles tube up each of you, and maybe many, many Lemmiwinkses. So, now that I've gotten that out of my system, I hope everyone has a lovely Wednesday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your arse.
Imagine my shock